right, everybody, welcome into Concrete Jungle, New York Baseball Podcast. I am here, Paul Russo and Kyle Evans, as always, here on FingerWakes1.com. Kyle, we got a lot to kind of get through today in a way here. I think we're officially at a crossroads for sure with the Mets at this point. I think the Yankees were kind of nearing that point after getting through this weekend, so a lot to dissect, a lot to kind of discuss, and frankly look at as we are over halfway through the month of June now.
Yeah, it was a miserable weekend for both teams. I know I'm tired of talking about losing baseball for both teams. But yeah, right now it seems like we should kind of be talking about which team is going to finish worse, because, man, they are pretty hard to watch, both teams. I mean, the Mets are scoring some more runs than the Yankees have, but just, man, it's tough to watch.
Yeah, it'll be pretty interesting. I don't think. Yeah, we'll get into it. I don't know if a race to the bottom type discussion is exactly fair and just at this point, but we can get into that maybe a little bit more here at this point. So, before we go any further, thank a couple of our sponsors, Desano Propane. Desano Propane is 4 generations strong as a trustworthy family-owned business with unmatched customer service. You can go online at DesanoPropane.com for more information or call them toll-free at 1-800-752-4574 today. Since 1937, the difference has been Desano Propane. And Blush by CV Designs. Blush by CV Designs is a local woman-owned business in the heart of the Finger Lakes, offering women's clothing and accessories, quality home goods, and unique gifts. See what everyone is talking about by visiting their location in downtown Seneca Falls, or browse all of their products online at shopcvdesigns.com. All right, Kyle, let's get into it with the Yankees. They get swept by Boston over the weekend in Fenway Park. And it was just pretty much unspectacular across the board. Certainly Friday night, kind of really amplified maybe the whole weekend in a way. Just an absolute blowout by the Red Sox. And like I said, kind of set the tone for the weekend. Rain out on Saturday, doubleheader on Sunday. And just the offense, just no shows pretty much the whole weekend. Now, we can kind of get into this, I think, part of it I want to table until we get to the, say, injury updates on this. But just the guys who are out, right? Judge, Bader, you can really tell where the bats from them are needed, right? And to that end, we noted the struggles. That was strange. We noted the struggles of Rizzo last week, and I think it might be time to really discuss the struggles of Giancarlo Stanton at this point as well. Gut reaction from the weekend for the Yankees in a lot of ways echoes what I will probably say about the Mets in all honesty anyway for when we get to them. This was a weekend where you needed to go out and handle business and just failed to deliver. And it kind of puts you at this, like I said, it's an interesting crossroads. I think it's more for the Mets than it is the Yankees right now. But they really do have to do some long look in the mirror at the moment. You're kind of, I guess, limited to what you can do in a way at the moment because of injuries with the Yankees. But, you know, that being said, it's kind of all happening the way we kind of expected. And I don't want to take shots at guys who have stepped up in this moment, right? Your Jake Bauers, your Isaiah Kiner-Falefas, your Billy McKinneys, but you aren't going to win games with them being your everyday outfield, for example, right? Or everyday batters. Jake Bauers is not a leadoff guy, and he's put in this position where he's got to be. And I guess luckily the Yankees have an off day today, in a sense, but they really have to. They're going to have to figure something out here sooner than later. You can't keep losing games like this.
Yeah, for me, I don't know about you, but I'm hearing the Aaron Judge story every day, and it's like, yeah, he's the greatest player in the world, but at the same time, the Yankees have more than capable players, to go out there and perform and put up numbers. And that's the reason why they're losing games. They're not just losing games because of Aaron Judge. So many people are getting that wrong. If Rizzo, Stanton, and even just Torres were hitting, they would be fine. They'd win more games. But the thing is about this team, like we've talked about before, everyone seems to be struggling. Torres has come up with some big hits here and there, but for the most part, everyone's struggling at the same time. Say Judge was in this lineup. What happens if he was on a cold streak?
All right.
You still need people to produce when he's cold, which is not very often. But yeah, for me, that's the biggest difference here. And I'm just so tired of the media asking Boone every game about it. Hearing it among fans like, yes, Judge is a huge loss. You want him back, but like, man, these other guys can do it. They can actually keep this team, I would say, above water until Judge gets back if they just start hitting. The pitching, it struggled at times for the most part. The pitching's been good. Like I just looked, they still have the best bullpen ERA. This team can win games if they get some more offensive production from these veteran guys that are more than capable of doing it.
I think part of that's fair. I think, though, we have to recognize, though, the protection that Judge gives that lineup, though. And I understand, right? I mean, it's baseball. You go in and out of streaks. But, it is a completely different team when Judge is in the lineup for the Yankees. I do agree, though. I mean, even if one of these guys was just even remotely close to being on right now, right?
Chicago,
it's a different story.
Have we ever seen Rizzo 4 for his last 48?
Yeah.
Or Stanton 5 for his last 41.
Yeah.
Get ready for this one. DJ LeMahieu over his last 30 games, 21 for 113, 186 batting average.
Yeah.
He's doubled his strikeouts. His exit velocity has went down the last 3 months in a row. His average exit velocity on balls, it's at 86 miles an hour. He's not hitting the ball hard. Like, this is alarming. These are your veteran guys. I always think about this, too, while these struggles are going on. I'm sure they would have went out and got definitely another bat if Judge didn't come back. But imagine if Judge did sign with the Giants or did sign with the Padres. Like, this team, and if Cashman didn't go out and get another bat, if Judge didn't come back, which I think he would have, this is how the team would look.
Yeah.
I can't believe these veteran hitters are struggling for this long. And, I'm just waiting for that time where Stanton just tears the cover off the ball. And hopefully that comes this week, but we've been waiting.
Yeah, it's strange because, man, there's a lot of quick reaction post, really, Game 1 yesterday of the doubleheader, where you got people online saying, sell, all right. I'm like, no.
They would never do that anyways.
Yeah, we've never known the Yankees to outright sell. I think the closest we kind of saw them to selling was 2016. And even then, they really only gave up really a couple guys.
Andrew Miller.
Yeah, and Chapman. So it will be interesting, right, to kind of see, I think, how the next... At the moment, I'm going to say week because the Mariners come into the Bronx first here tomorrow, Tuesday. Then the Rangers come in for a weekend set. And then the Yankees go and they play, I know it's Oakland at the front end of next week. So it's...
Who's been playing better baseball?
They've been playing better, but, all things considered, it's... Fujinami can't just continuously be out here throwing 100. Look, Seattle's a team that should be better than they are. They're kind of taking the corner, but not really at the moment, right? And forgive us here at the moment for doing maybe a bit too far down the line, but Texas, right, first place in the AL West, and they're doing it all without their quasi-best player, even though to me I think it's very apparent who their best player probably is anyway. Here's looking at you, Marcus Semien and or Nathan Eovaldi. So I don't know if it's necessarily a do or die week for the Yankees, but it's certainly a put up or shut up week for the Yankees, I think. To not fall into, say, what we have with the Mets going on. Obviously, we'll talk about them here in a couple minutes, but, you look at the Mets, and to me, that's what the Yankees could quickly become here if they just don't quite get it figured out sooner than later.
Yeah, the thing is, too, about these struggles with the Yankees, it's not that they're just not getting the big hit. I don't know if you saw the stat last night, but they have a 298 on base percentage as a team. 298. That's the third worst in Major League Baseball. And remember, all these past years, I know Aaron Judge taking him out is huge for on base percentage, but these guys are not working the count. I mean, Friday night, Tanner Houck had a 5-pitch second inning. They're not taking pitches. They're trying to swing at first pitches all the time, which I don't have a problem doing that sometimes, but they're not making these pitchers work. And there was some stat about how the Yankees are one of the only teams in the league that have allowed opposing starters to go 7 or more innings. It's happened like a bunch of times because they don't make the pitcher tired. They don't work them. They don't make them get out early. So it's just, for me, they're not even getting on base. That's what's the problem here. And nothing really is going to change. I mean, it's going to continue to be like this.
Yeah, I mean, and you bring up a point. You want to go a bit further back in the week last week. I mean, IKF stealing home in a way. I mean, they're it's borderline. They're generating their offense in the unorthodox sense, and maybe that's how they got to generate to just get on base at this point. I don't know. What I do find interesting, in a way, is, and I kind of circle back this in a way with both the Yankees and the Mets. The teams that we expected to be really good this year, I'm not saying aren't living up to the hype, right? But, your your Miami Marlins, for example, here, right, are just out here fighting. A team that I think a lot of people might have had pinned to go and be a team to contact sell-wise, right? Like, I'm not going to call normal year. No such thing as normal in baseball. If we're talking this time last year, the same thing, I think the Yankees go calling about, say, like a Brian De La Cruz, right? And simply put, that's not going to happen this year. There's really only about 3 or 4 teams I could see just being outright sellers at the deadline, and I don't know, especially for the Yankee end of things, I don't know who you want from those teams anyway. They don't exactly fit, I think, the big needs that the Yankees are going to need on offense here. Like, the Royals aren't going to trade a guy like MJ Melendez anyway, and if they do, it's going to be for a king's ransom, Oakland, they don't have anybody that overly excites me, It's gonna be tough, I think, at the deadline here for both the Yankees, Mets, or really anybody, frankly, buying to go out and get some guys, because there's so many teams so well within contention and within reach of making at least a wild card that I don't know. And look, we're over a month and a half away still technically from the deadline, right? But I think this year is going to be a year that if you want good guys, I think you're going to have to get this done early. And I just don't know. I don't see the Yankees being willing to give up a ton at the moment for whatever reason. I don't know if that's just a case of, I wouldn't say hurt, but like their best prospects right now aren't sitting at AAA anymore. They're sitting at AA and high A. And they aren't going to give up on Dominguez or anything like that. You're not going to give him away. You're not going to give away Sweeney or Wells or any of these kids, so I don't know what the Yankees' plan of action is going to be. Nobody's going to take, say, a Donaldson contract, and if they do, you're going to be eating a lot of the money on it. So I don't know. This is where I talk about the Yankees at their crossroads. Is I don't know really where they're going to find guys to plug into this lineup here as they push closer to the deadline.
Yeah, I laugh. Everyone keeps mentioning Cody Bellinger. It's like, yeah, let's bring in a guy who, would be great for Yankee Stadium, but look at his strikeout rate. Yep, let's add another strikeout bat to the lineup. And
he hasn't been the same since returning.
I think what we're missing, like a lot of people have said, God, they miss Andrew Benintendi. A guy that just gets on base, contact hitter, can work the count, can get walks. But yeah, I also do want to mention this. I don't know if you were going to bring this up, because it's got to stop. As much as this offense is struggling, we will not see Oswald Peraza if Donaldson is here every day. Peraza would come up and not play.
Right.
So why would they do that? unless they actually move on from Donaldson, which I think they will never do. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope they pull an Aaron Hicks thing and surprise everybody. Well, that wasn't really surprising, but you know what I mean. Surprise us by doing it in the middle of the year. We're not going to see Peraza. Where is he going to play? Unless they're just going to randomly throw him in the outfield, even though he hasn't played. I don't know. Has he ever played in the outfield?
Oh, geez, I don't know.
But if they're doing it with IKF, I guess they could do it with Peraza, right?
Fair. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Donaldson's also a free agent at the end of the year, so.
We won't see him this year, and everyone keeps calling for it. Like they've reiterated over and over, Donaldson's the everyday guy. Unless he's taking a day off for rest, he's going to be in there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. And this is something that I plan on touching on here in a minute, only because it's the de facto corresponding move. But I mean, Oswaldo Cabrera gets optioned back to AAA as well here, to presumably make room for Bader and the active roster. I don't know, and this is the tough part too, where I'm not a fan of all the finger pointing at Volpe. I do get the frustration though. I would rather just to kind of go back to what we've been banging on the drum for the Mets. I would just assume have the kids in at this point. I mean, I don't know what difference it's going to make. You know, it can't be any worse than, I guess, like what we have with LeMahieu right now, right? Or Donaldson, obviously. Don't want to exactly throw Stanton under the bus either in this sense, but, I mean, what difference does it make if Peraza's in there or Cabrera's in there over Stanton at this point, right? Not a ton. I mean, maybe you're banking on Stanton hitting a home run compared to the other two because of just the power difference, but what difference does it make if he's not even really getting the ball into play anyway?
Yeah, ideally, I think a lot of people want Peraza at third, and I mean, I would love that too, but they're not going to move. They're just not going to not have Donaldson in the lineup. That's just how it's going to be, and it sucks, but it's reality.
Yeah. Let's touch on briefly again Clark Schmidt. You talk about the really overall pitching at this point for the Yankees. What'd you make of when he got pulled yesterday? I understand the concerns of the third time through the order with him, and I get that. But to play devil's advocate, and this is personally where I sit anyway on this, like at what point you're gonna have to leave him out there to prove himself anyway to get through really the sixth inning. To be fair, I didn't have a problem with it yesterday when he was left out. And just my thought on it, frankly, is let him either prove himself in the moment against a team like the Red Sox. To be fair, because I'd rather you not do it against, say, the Rangers or the Mariners coming up. Specifically the Rangers. That lineup scares me at the moment. So, I didn't have a problem with it yesterday. I think it was at that point within the series, right, I think it was a perfect time to maybe just test the waters a little bit and kind of see what you got.
Yeah, I like that they brought him back out for the fifth inning. You know, it's game one of a doubleheader.
Right.
Schmidt has been throwing the ball well. He's just not getting the run support, and that's why they're 1-6 over his last 7 starts.
Yeah. With probably his lowest ERA.
So yeah, I mean, it was frustrating that the lineup Boston got to him in that fifth inning, and they had to pull him. And then Michael King comes on, and I mean, he's been struggling his last 4 outings. Has a 9 ERA. That's like wow. Especially against a team like Boston. That's the thing. The Yankees made this Red Sox team look so good. Like, this Red Sox team wasn't making errors. They lead the league in errors.
Yeah.
They were hitting the ball. They were playing, like I said, very good defense. Their pitching was great. Bello is just, his career numbers against the Yankees are unbelievable in 5 starts.
Make him look like Pedro.
Yeah. So it's amazing. Like, that's why the weekend got so much worse. It's not like they played, like, a top team in the league. They played the Boston Red Sox, who have now beat them 5 out of 6 times. And then they're 11-15 in the AL East. Like, why do you think you're 10 games out of first? Because you're not beating AL East teams.
Right.
So, yeah, I did like the decision, though, back on Schmidt. It sucks, but the offense has got to do more. I mean, 2 runs in the first inning, then don't score again, and have 3 hits the rest of the way. 2 hits the rest of the way.
Yeah.
That's bad against that pitching staff, who had the 28th worst ERA.
Yeah. Yeah, let's, before we head off here for other topics here, do want to touch on some injuries as well. Already alluded to, right, Harrison Bader. Initially thought he was going to be back Friday, was not. officially concluded his rehab assignment with Double A Somerset yesterday on Sunday, and is expected to join the Yankees tomorrow on Tuesday. I mentioned the what they're calling the de facto corresponding move in Oswaldo Cabrera being optioned to Triple A Scranton Wilkes-Barre there. So big. I mean, I'm looking forward to see what the bat can do in the lineup at this point. He was certainly making an impact, before he got hurt. So I'm intrigued and hopeful for Bader back in the lineup.
Yeah, just please stay healthy. Obviously way better option than having Bowers in center, McKinney, just a better defender all around. Yeah, and he had 7 home runs in that limited time he was playing. He was hitting the ball. He had like 20-something RBIs. He was contributing a lot, so getting him back is huge.
Yeah. Nestor Cortez, some positive news on his front, has resumed playing catch. That happened over the weekend, so obviously big stuff there. Ian Hamilton through his first of rehab assignments over the weekend on Sunday with Double A Somerset. He will need at least 2 more outings, looking more like 3 at the very least before he's activated. Kind of looking like the Oakland series will be his target return, although he could return this weekend against the Rangers, but kind of doubtful on that front.
Yeah, he said after the game that he was going to do 3 total, so only 2 more. That's why I added it. So yeah, I expect him to be back probably on the weekend.
Okay, so you're going on the shorter end of this thing.
I mean, he said only 2 more, so I'm just going by his word. And he looked really good. He had 2 strikeouts in that 1 inning yesterday, and was throwing the ball well. So I think we're going to see him back quick.
All right. Aaron Judge received another platelet-rich plasma injection Thursday for his right great toe. Apparently, these things actually kind of aggravate the toe back up a little bit initially, but per Aaron Boone, he was walking around fine by the end of the weekend. So hopefully, kind of get some stuff back going a little bit with Judge here. It kind of feels like we almost hit a snag in the past week in a way, where things were looking semi-positive, and I don't know. I don't like the sound of another injection, if you will, in this scenario.
Listen, we're 3 weeks away from the All-Star break. He hasn't even done baseball activity since being injured. People got to stop. He's not going to come back till after the All-Star break. As much as we'd like that, you got to understand that the guy hasn't been throwing. He hasn't been in the box. He's not just going to, as soon as he can do baseball activities, he's not just going to be ready to go. He's going to need that time to get in the cage and get going again. And remember, that's his back foot, the foot that he pushes off from. He just got another shot in that foot because of pain. Like I said, I think Buster Olney was right all wrong. We're not going to. They'd be thrilled to have him back before the All-Star break.
Yeah. It just sucks because it didn't look positive there for at least a moment. Anyway, hey, Carlos Rodon officially will be beginning a rehab assignment with Double A Somerset tomorrow on Tuesday. How about that? Obviously, a little bit different than, say, Ian Hamilton, where as a reliever, right, you can kind of throw every other day, every day type thing to get your stamina built back up. He will need somewhere along the lines of 3 to 4 starts at least, so we're probably targeting, again, a guy All-Star break-ish, I would assume. But really good stuff to see. Rodon, at least, will be on the mound in a competitive state here beginning this week.
Yeah, I think there's a chance we see him make 1 start before that All-Star break in the big leagues. If he throws 40 pitches his first outing, then get him up to like 60, and then maybe 75, and then bring him up for that 4th outing, which would be like 3 days before the All-Star break. So, yeah, I think we could see him right before then, as long as there's no setbacks, of course. But that's very good news. I mean, although I guess Schmidt hasn't been throwing the ball bad, so I guess it's not as needed so quickly now as we first thought. But, yeah, good news.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to kind of see how that goes further down the line. And some also good news involving Jonathan Loasaga. It's been a while since I've had to say this name. Jonathan Loasaga. He has began a throwing program. So obviously a step in the right direction. We're looking still probably late August at the earliest for him anyway. But the fact that he's beginning a throwing program, I think that's a pretty good sign of things to potentially come for the Yankee bullpen.
Yeah, I remember Boone said before this surgery that he would expect him in September. Maybe that timeline has moved up, but I mean, it's great that these guys like Cortez is starting their throwing programs, but they're a ways away yet. Like Cortez, he said maybe mid-July, he said the other day. So, I mean, that's kind of where we're at with these guys.
As for the Yankees, I already alluded to it a bunch, but they are off today, back to New York as they host the Mariners for the first of a two-series homestand before they head west for a few days. So tomorrow, Tuesday, first pitch at 7:05 on the Yes Network. George Kirby for the Mariners against Garrett Cole. Wednesday, 7:05, Amazon Prime or MLB Network if you're out of the market. Be Luis Castillo against to be determined at the moment. And then Thursday, 7:05, also on Yes or MLB Network. Brian Wu, the rookie, against Domingo Germán, who looks to bounce back after Friday's rough outing. I can't get a good read on this series, to be completely honest with you. I'd like to say 2 of 3, but my gut's kind of telling me they only get 1. I'm not, as we all know, I'm not a fan of the TBDs for pitching, and I'm not fully convinced that Germán will be able to bounce back. This was the first time in a while he got beat up the way he did, pitching-wise. I think it'd be ideal, right, if he bounced back and the Yankees get 2 or 3, but I'm going to go 1 of 3 against Seattle.
I agree.
Yeah.
At least you're finally catching on to my thoughts. The offense is just going to be the same. It's going to be funny. It's going to be hilarious. I'm just going to laugh every second of it. Bader, yeah, he'll have a couple hits. One of 3, and the Rangers sweep. I know we're not even going to talk about that till Thursday, but that's just funny. They've already lost 3 out of 4 to them. They had one of their worst losses to them, 15-2 back in April. The Rangers are very good. They're going to get swept. It's going to be a rough week. But the good thing is there's 3 wildcard teams now, and they're probably still going to find a way because some of these other wildcard teams are just not better than the Yankees, even though the Yankees are that bad right now.
Yeah, luckily you teed that up perfectly that we get to discuss the Rangers stuff later on in the week, so we get to table that for now. All right, the Mets only get a single win against the Cardinals. This was a series I had high hopes for the Mets, and simply put, pretty much failed expectation across the board. I think the only person who, in a weird way, might have lived up to the expectation was Tyler Megill, who probably saved his big league season for at least another go-around or 2 in the rotation. Because after Friday, it was just a lot of negative, I think, for the Mets. It's weird. I want to talk about the offensive struggles, even though, in a way, if you want to look at Sunday, was a really great offensive day, maybe collectively. But there was a lot of just a ton of negativity around the team, right? And it kind of got amplified. I know I saw at the end of the day yesterday, somebody was able to capture Francisco Alvarez in the dugout. And the look of just kind of defeat he had in the moment, it sucks. I mean, you want to talk about a guy who, one of the few true bright spots on the team at the moment is Alvarez, right? The fact that he's looking the way he is at the moment and kind of the vibes, it's kind of going through, I think, that picture. It's like they shouldn't be in that position. And look, they are. They are certainly at the crossroads of the season now, I'd say, for the people out there who maybe think I would bang the drum still of being like it ain't over just yet. Yeah, technically it ain't over yet, but they are at the crossroads of the season. You know, this is the time where they are going to have to choose their path, right? And yeah, you know, not to jump too far ahead, right, a little bit here, but like Pete Alonso gets activated over the weekend, and Mark Vientos is the one who gets sent option back down to AAA. And in one sense, I don't have a problem with it because at least he'll be getting reps. But on the other hand, Vogelbach is still there, and it's funny because Vogelbach finally hits his 3rd home run of the season over the weekend on Friday night, and
doesn't play, I think, the other games.
Right, and it's one of those things too where it's all of a sudden social media was back on Danny Burgers is back. I'm like, God, no, like stop. Like, okay, he ran into one, congrats, but like that's the exact mantra to me that I think some people maybe think that I have in a way where it's like it ain't over just yet. When in actuality, he hits that home run to me, and I'm just like, great, like now people are going to be back on this train. It's like, why would you want him when I would just have Vientos up there still? And sure, maybe he doesn't fit the position type, but Like you could at least have him in the lineup and Alvarez in the lineup and Beatty in the lineup and the kids every day in the lineup. And oh, by the way, not to jump too far ahead either in this, but Ronnie Mauricio back in the lineup every day for Syracuse after having to take a couple of days off. And guess what he is doing?
Hitting.
Raking and having exit velos of over 100 consistently.
Yep. My take on the Mets, 12.5 out of the division. Okay, fine. But then you look at the wild card, and they're 5.5 out.
Yeah.
The only thing I see about the National League is, yeah, some of these teams I think are going to qualify. Like the Reds. I mean, what have they won? 7, 8 in a row now?
Swept Houston.
Yeah, they're unbelievable right now. Some of these teams are going to cool off, but man, the amount of teams that are above them right now. Say they go like 2-4 this week. Just say they only win 1 in Houston, 1 against Philly. I mean, they're just going to keep burying themselves to the point where, and then also like if they lose the series to the Phillies this weekend, they're the team that they're trying to fight for a wild card with. So that's what I mean. They got to start taking care of business against teams that aren't that much better than them in terms of records. Mm-hmm. Like the Cardinals, that had to be 2 out of 3 at least.
Yeah.
There's just so many times where they're losing games that we think they shouldn't be losing, and then they do. It's like it just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to say if they go 2-4 this week, they're already kind of way down. They're gonna get buried.
Yeah. I do want to talk about talk again a little bit about this offense, and I do want to spend a moment on pitching because I think it's time we do address some of this, even maybe a little bit more, not in depth, but probably address the one elephant in the room nobody wants to exactly talk about. The lineup needs fixing, okay? And I can't. Buck is at fault to a degree on this, but if you're Buck, you can only do so much with the guys you just have around you still. And that's the part for me where it's like, why aren't they just making something move-wise happen here? I saw on Reddit last night, and I kind of chuckle because I think it was very unfair to lump Alonso and Brandon Nimmo and Jeff McNeil and Francisco Lindor into this. But more or less saying, these guys go out, they get these contracts now at some of their ages, and not to say they check out, but do they lose some of this edge? I don't necessarily disagree. I think in the case of maybe slightly Starling Marte at this point, maybe Eduardo Escobar a little bit at this point, but really to be fair, this is where I think I want to jump to this point. Verlander, to a degree, Max Scherzer. We can go after Vogelbach like we just did, and it's justified. But, your pitchers, these guys that you paid $45 million a year for, and, we know that they aren't getting any younger. At what point do they also have to take some of this? Because I think we're at that point, and not to jump too far ahead here for a few minutes, when we talk about the series against Houston, but only one pitcher has been named for the Mets in this series, and it's Max Scherzer. When Verlander's time should be coming up in the rotation as well here within this. So what's the thought process here at this point with some of the rotation guys? Like I said, I think it's time we also start maybe doing a little bit of finger pointing at them, because sure, the offense isn't backing up and whatever, and I get that, but at the very least you can say for the Yankees, when Garrett Cole's on the mound, when clearly at this point Clark Schmidt's on the mound, I guess maybe 2 out of 3 starts out Domingo Germán, they're giving you the opportunities to at least put the ball in play. Hard to do that when you're giving up a guaranteed borderline 6 runs a game like the Mets pitching staff is, specifically the starters right now.
Yeah, I saw a stat. Here's a stat for you. When the Mets score 6 runs this year, they're 12-10.
That's not good.
When they score 7 runs, 10-6.
Slightly better,
not
but not
terrible. But when you score 7 runs, you should almost have an undefeated record.
Correct.
And that's the thing with the Mets here. They're so inconsistent. Some days they'll put up a good amount of runs, and other days they'll have 3 hits and 1 run. But the thing is, when they do finally get the runs, the pitching is not there. It's like they can never get everything to click at the same time. And their bullpen is just, we've talked about it all year so far. I mean, that bullpen's not good enough. And right now, remember, they're playing a man short because of Drew Smith. I can't remember the exact date when
Right.
his suspension's up. But oh, and yesterday, I want to ask you about this. I don't know if we're going to talk about it. Ottavino only threw 8 pitches. I mean, Robertson only threw 8 pitches in that eighth inning.
Hmm.
Instead of bringing him back out for the ninth to close it out, he brought in Ottavino, who
Yeah.
threw it right down the middle.
Yeah, I didn't.
So would you have brought Robertson back out for the ninth, having thrown just 8 pitches?
My personal way I go about baseball, yes.
And I can't remember if you
I guess I get because look, we can't deny the fact there'd be a lot of pot calling the kettle black. We were the same podcast that was saying that they were overworking Robertson as well. So I guess maybe I could understand the thought process behind it, right? But 8 pitches, I would let him go. He at least earns the opportunity to get the first batter.
The funny thing is Robertson didn't pitch Saturday, but Ottavino did.
Right.
But then they go to the guy that pitched the day before. So you said you don't want to, destroy the bullpen, Buck always says. Yeah. Then why'd you use Ottavino back-to-back days?
Right.
And Robertson hadn't pitched since Friday night.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the decisions, it's just...
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
And the whole pinch hit, I don't know if you saw Vogelback got a pinch hit in the ninth.
No.
They're taking these bats out of the young kids for Vogelback. It's like, why?
Yeah. Yeah, a couple more. Obviously I can pull Scherzer's ERA up right away because it's within our show notes anyway. His ERA is bloated, right? It's 4.45. Verlander's is 4.40. Your two quote unquote prized guys, right, are
What's Senga?
just not
a rough outing.
Senga's I know is for something, but
See, that's the thing.
I give Senga though the slight leeway only because he's transitioning this year over a full deal from NPB to MLB. Next year, in my mind, it will be different, but
it's a 3.53.
Right, but it's historically, it typically takes Japanese pitchers who pitch in the NPB a full year to kind of get accustomed to the MLB. So for him, I give slight leeway, not a ton, but I give him slight leeway, more so than Scherzer and Verlander.
Yeah, see, so they have a rough bullpen. They're two starters that they pay so much money to. They're supposed to be elite.
Your MLB rookie's your ace right now.
Yeah, that's why this team is struggling. And the inconsistent offense, I mean, it all adds up to just not a good baseball team. And obviously that can change after the All-Star break. Maybe they come out with a different, style, just more energy. I don't know. Just you would think after that walk-off win against the Yankees, they wouldn't go out at home and lose to the worst National League team. And they did. They keep doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah. And against, frankly, pitching in the Cardinals that, you should beat up on. Adam Wainwright isn't he isn't 25 anymore, as we would say, right? Liberatore yesterday, this was a former top prospect guy, but he's a guy that many around the league are pointing at as being more or less, he has, quote-unquote, one more bad start. He's going back to AAA, and he'll be nothing more than a quad-A type player the rest of the way. They did get to Miles Mikolas, luckily, I guess, Friday night, so, I mean, at least the Mets had that going for them, that they were able to target one guy and get after him, but you have to do that over a series, right? And it goes back to what you said, Kyle, a few minutes ago, and it goes back to what I was saying on Thursday, where 2 of 3 should have been the minimum against the Cardinals, if you're the Mets. The minimum. It should have been 3-0, but it's baseball. We understand sweeps are just tough in general. But they didn't go out and handle business the way they should have. And at the end of the day, that's one of those things you got to get done. And they are going to have to. This is why I talk about they're at a crossroads. They're going to have to be the first. If they want to go ahead and turn this season around and guarantee a postseason appearance via the wild card at this point, they have to be buying, and I mean buying ASAP. Because you aren't getting your triple. Look, Syracuse, you already have tried the guys there, and you don't want them anyway. And whether it's Lucchese or Peterson, you've already have made your mind up more or less about where you stand with them for the year, right? So your options in the minors are pretty much next to nothing. The only guy you haven't tried yet, if you're the front office, technically is Alicia Hernandez, and that's because he's rehabbing. So I guarantee he'll get a de facto start or two whenever he's fully back and healthy, because what other option do you have if you're the Mets, right? But to me, your option is go out and grab somebody. There's going to be people available, right? And I don't know if adding a guy, and I don't mean to sideswipe him here at this point because I feel like for him he's going to, a change of scenery might kind of do the guy good, even though he's actually had, since a lot of the rumors kicked up about him, he's had 3 actually quality starts. But, do you want to get a guy like Shane Bieber? Because he's just kind of like a younger version of Verlander at the moment. But something's better than nothing, Or, and this is one of the things I saw on Reddit that I kind of laughed at first, but then I sat there for a second like, actually, it kind of makes sense. Do you sell off, try and pawn away, whether it's the Scherzer contract or the Verlander contract, or maybe even both if you're lucky, and just leverage it out and just make an absolute run at Ohtani in the offseason?
Yeah, the thing about the Mets and Yankees that I keep thinking about that makes this situation a little bit different with their struggles is their payrolls are just unbelievably high, and they're struggling to win games, and they're losing to teams that have way less money invested, not as much talent on the roster, and they're winning games. And it's just, to me, it's more of, I guess if you're a Met fan right now, it's more kind of embarrassing that everyone thought money was going to buy them a championship or money was going to guarantee them a spot in the playoffs. And here we are, late June, and let's be real, they're 5.5 out of the wild card. That's not close. They're almost one of the worst teams in the National League right now. And I think that's why Met fans and just the whole, league and everyone just is shocked by this because of the amount of money that they invest in this roster. And then, like you said, their 2 best pitchers who, so many teams wanted in the offseason or so many teams would love to have are just not performing at the level they should be. And, I mean, that's just, as a Met fan, it's just super frustrating, I would think, for everyone. And you like I said last week, you thought they'd get going during that 5-game win streak, and that just never happened. And they're losing to teams that they have no business losing to. So for me, I'm just at the point with the Mets where, how much worse can this get? Mm-hmm. Is there a point in time coming where this team's going to be 10 below 500? Is it going to get that bad? Or are they going to finally start playing better baseball?
Yeah, I mean, the 10 games below is
there only 5 away from that?
It's equally as possible as getting back to 500. But like I said, they're at that crossroads right now where that will be their choice that they make over the course of the next week. And it's a tough week for them. I'll say this. The Phillies are – I wouldn't say that they aren't better than the Mets. Right.
Playing very well.
They're equally at a crossroads themselves. Well, that's the thing. They're playing well, but it don't make any sense as to how they're playing well. You know what I mean? I mean, Schwarber's below the Mendoza line and has a negative WAR on the year, and yet he's hitting a home run rate that's not like what Aaron Judge was doing last year, but his home run rate's one. I think it's every other game or 2 games, which is what are we doing? So. I don't know.
Here's a quick, sorry. Yeah. Here's a fact. I was just looking at all the teams around them in the wild card this year, even the teams below them, like the Cardinals, Rockies, Nationals. Yeah. They've lost a series to every one of these teams but the Phillies this year. Yeah. They've lost to the Reds, the Padres, the Pirates, the Cardinals, Rockies, Nationals. That's wild. Yeah. Well, I think part of it, too, is I think some of this now at this point is a perceived notion like you kind of bring up. And I don't mean to maybe go at you a little bit here, but it's very apparent, right, that the Reds are at worst decent this year, and same with the Marlins. The thing is, they got them when they weren't playing good baseball. They played them, at the point where they weren't hot. They didn't have what's his name up on the roster. Sure, in that sense, yes, but and then you look at the Marlins, Giants, and Dodgers who are in the playoffs right now, and they beat the Giants. Remember that West Coast trip? They beat the Dodgers. So how does this make any sense? All the other teams that are out of the playoffs right now, they've been losing to, but the teams that are in, they've beat this year. That's just weird baseball stuff. Yeah, play to your opponent, I guess, maybe. I don't know. Really, to be fair, and it's because I already alluded to the one with Pete Alonso and Mark Vientos, really is only one other injury-related note for the Mets, and that actually even occurred really Thursday right after we got off air. But reliever Steven Ridings activated from the injured list and option to AAA Syracuse. So I'm guessing that's just more to give him some more reps in quick. I would imagine he'll probably get some sort of run
with the big league team here within a week. But I'm guessing they just did that to just get him a couple more reps in while keeping 40-man status.
Yeah, interesting stuff on him. He's 27 years old. I saw the other day.
Yeah.
Only 5 big league appearances.
Yeah, all with the Yankees last year, I think, right?
Yeah, so get him up here and let him ride.
Yeah.
Oh, Steven Robbins.
Clever boy you are, Kyle Evans. Clever boy. So for the Mets, I already kind of alluded to this a little bit, but they head to Houston for what will not be an easy 3 games. Tonight, an 8:10 first pitch on SNY or MLB Network, depending upon your market. Max Scherzer against Hunter Brown. That's the only Met starter known for the whole entire series as we stand. Tuesday, 8:10 to be determined against Framber Valdez. And then Wednesday, getaway day, 2:10 first pitch on SNY to be determined against who has actually been Houston's best pitcher all year, Christian Javier. So things don't get easy for the Mets at all. Now, to that end, Houston's not exactly playing very inspiring baseball to me at this point, even though they are a very good team.
3-7 in their last 10.
Yeah,
Lost 4 in a row.
Yeah, it's an interesting spot. Again, I can see this playing out to where they do get 2 or 3 against Houston. I really do. But you want to know what my head's telling me, my gut's telling me? 1 of 3. And I think for a change, it's not the offense that makes me say that really with them or anything like that. I go back to my old adage of if you don't know who your 2 starters are at this point, who will be throwing in, 28 hours from now, for example, in the case of, tomorrow, not good. What that tells me as well is someone tells me they might be thinking of bringing up whether it's Lucchesi or Peterson for a start and just kind of seeing what the hell happens. Or they do the psychopath Boston Red Sox thing that happened yesterday and just have a bullpen game on a doubleheader. I don't know. So I think it's 1 of 3 against Houston. I just do. It's if you can't inspire me to take you more than that, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the thing is, no Yordan Alvarez, they catch a little break there. Still a very good team.
Yeah.
I think no way the Astros lose this series after losing 4 in a row.
And swept by Cincy. Go back to that team for you, Kyle.
And I just looked. The Angels just jumped above them, too, above the Astros. The AL West is actually interesting this year, but I'm going to take a sweep. The Astros sweep, and I know it's bad to say, but this Mets team doesn't have anything for me right now to make me think they're going to go into Houston.
It's uninspiring baseball. It's just uninspiring baseball.
And Houston's always known for their pitching, and with the Mets not scoring runs sometimes, that's just a disaster waiting to happen. And if Verlander does pitch against his former team, he'll probably throw the ball well, but will the offense score? Probably not.
No. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, too. I mean, who knows? Like I said, hypothetically, they call up Joey Lucchesi, he probably throws the game of his freaking carear, and
or
they'll lose 2-0.
Or if we come back Thursday and they've won 2 in a row and they might be going for the sweep.
No, that would be the series will be over.
Oh, yeah, because it's no off day today. Okay, yeah.
Their off day is Thursday.
All these off days, and I keep getting confused who's what, where. But, yeah.
That'll happen.
Sweep.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? That's what happens when you play uninspiring baseball. That'll happen from time to time. All right, it was actually a super positive week overall in the grand scheme of things for Rochester and Syracuse. Rochester splits with Scranton, and I know what you're thinking. Isn't that great when you split with a team? Well, when you gain ground on first place, even though they're out of the race, really, to be fair, for the first half, it kind of goes back to, honestly, Kyle, what you were saying a few weeks ago, whereas you can see this team finishing above 500 for the first half of the year. That wraps up at the end, technically, of this week.
So they got to have a big week then.
But to this end, and I go back to it as Syracuse, through whatever grace of whatever, ends up taking 4 of 6 from Buffalo. Both teams kind of have momentum when they kind of need it most, right? When they flip and get to the second half of the year, the way it's set up this year, beginning next week, they are 2 very good offensive teams. Rochester, again, has this edge pitching-wise that we keep talking about. But you look at it, it's hard to stop a team with momentum. I think you have that, and you kind of get going a little bit with this, and you kind of build it and build it and build it, especially the way Rochester has after the way they started the year. I like that. And, again, went up and saw Rochester play Friday night against Scranton, and the way the team's kind of gelling and vibing, I'm a big fan of, and I think you're finally are kind of starting to see that a little bit at Syracuse too, where they started off the year pretty good. Went through obviously to me the patch where you had Vientos and Alvarez and Beatty get called back up, but Syracuse does have this core now that's been there for most of the year, and I think they're really gelling and getting it going together as well. And for as much as we've dunked on the guys at the big league level, Lucchese and Peterson have done super well at Syracuse the past month. And I think if they were to hold out and stay there for a foreseeable amount of time, again, we could be looking at, in my mind, at Rochester and Syracuse both being at the top to really at least get things going in the second half of the year in the International League.
Yeah, I agree with you there, and I was just checking in on Luke Voigt. I haven't really looked at his stats. What is he? 4 for 15, but 2 of his hits are homers.
Yeah.
And he has 8 RBIs.
Mm-hmm.
But then I looked at this. In 6 games, he has 11 walks. He's still the Luke Voigt from his Yankee days when, he's an on-base guy working the count. I don't know if we'll see him anytime soon. I don't know because now Pete Alonso's back. I mean, unless he DHs, but they're not moving on from Vogelbach. So I don't know how long this is going to last. And doesn't he have an opt-out in his deal?
Yeah, but that's still, I think, probably a week or so away, technically.
So, I mean, I don't know about you, but do you think they give him a shot at all? I mean, they'd have to make a move on the 40-man, obviously.
They definitely would, yeah.
So I don't know if they would do all that. But, I mean, I guess he's playing pretty well. He's getting on base down there. And
yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, too. So a couple of this kind of like news and notes here with both teams. Rochester, Alex Call option from Washington, struggled at the big league level this year, but what's kind of funny about him is he'll have his first cracks back in Rochester tomorrow. Sean Doolittle got called up from AA Harrisburg. Probably won't be seeing Jackson Tatro. I know he began rehabbing, but he got formally placed on the 60-day injured list, which when this isn't involving big league rosters and you're not on the 40-man in the first place, usually is not the best of sign. The things are where you need him to be. And for the Yankee fans out here, Blake Rutherford.
I was just going to say that.
It's called up to Rochester from AA Harrisburg. So, and for him, he's only played in a couple games, so he's batting .500. 2 of his 4 hits are home runs. So, an already pretty stacked outfield in Rochester got pretty deep there. For Syracuse, pretty big news here, potentially also involving at least the big league Mets. Sean Reed Foley is beginning a rehab assignment with Single A St. Lucie. And outfielder Rafael Ortega, who started the year in the Yankee organization, has joined Syracuse as well. So some interesting stuff there for both teams, really. Rochester stays home this week. They host Omaha. And for Syracuse, they're on the road and wrap up the first half of the year in Durham. So some interesting stuff there. I know a couple names there that you got perked the eyebrows for you, Kyle, at least. But some interesting stuff kind of moving around with both teams.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest surprise to me still is the Luke Voigt is a Syracuse Met. And then I just looked. I didn't realize Luke Voigt's 32.
Yeah.
And he's just keeps getting older. But
don't we all?
Yeah, back to the game that you went to. Was that extra innings again, if I remember right?
Yeah, 6-5.
Isn't that another extra inning game for you? Haven't you been to a few of those?
Crazy. Free baseball.
Yeah. But at least you're getting entertaining, close games.
It's hard not to at least enjoy good stuff, yeah. Definitely.
Much closer than that Yankees-Red Sox game on Friday.
That's a fact, yeah.
But yeah, that's some of the storylines here are interesting. I did not realize Ortega was in Syracuse, no.
Yeah, I thought he was with, like, the Padres organization for a little bit there, too. I know he went back to the Cubs for a minute. So, yeah, kind of the classic big leaguer trying to find his way back to a roster some way, somehow type thing, but yeah, I'm intrigued to see how he does. I mean, he did really well in the spring training for the Yankees, and it kind of caught me off guard that he was the last cut, more or less, for them. So, be pretty interested to see how he does for Syracuse. I don't think he played over the weekend, but I know obviously he'll probably get plenty of playing time, kind of at least going forward here this week with the S-Mets.
Quick Yankee point. I forgot to mention this when we were talking about them earlier. I was caught off guard by Willie Calhoun not playing in either one of those doubleheaders.
Yeah, that was strange now you mention it.
Is it because they just like McKinney more and they think he gives him a better shot? Because he's hit in 8 of the 9 games.
Right.
And is it because Jake Bauers is just the better option? But man, they loved Willie for that whole week or two, where they're just running him out there and they doesn't play both games.
Yeah.
Thought that was interesting.
I wonder if it was a defensive thought, maybe.
Yeah, it's so funny how bad like those guys just aren't defensive outfielders. You can
Yeah.
just tell.
Yeah. That's why we're here and not wherever else. Anyway, so that'll take care of Concrete Jungle for today. We'll be back Thursday. Time to be determined. Stuff. You know, we got some remotes that we're doing this weekend that we have to prep for on Thursday morning. So I'm not too sure what we're looking like for Thursday just yet, but we will be back obviously at some point Thursday.
One other quick thing: how did you think IKF looked on the mound again on Friday night?
I mean, he's an ace. He's the ace of the Yankee staff.
How did he only give up 1 run?
Yeah.
In 2 innings, he's only given up 1 run this year,
Not bad.
and one of them was against the Rangers.
He's no Brandon Crawford, but you know,
Yeah. IKF might be a better option than some pitchers in the league.
brutal.
I mean, the Mets would love to have IKF right on the mound. But
It's
yeah,
not fair.
interesting series. A lot of stuff went on.
So surely there will be more headlines to discuss on Thursday. Until then, appreciate everybody for tuning in. If you can't watch live here on YouTube, you can catch up anytime on YouTube, Spotify, and on major podcasting platforms. So we will talk with everybody Thursday. Enjoy the week, everybody, and we'll talk with everybody then.